Hello folks, welcome back. Well, if you had any overnight frost like we did, I hope your plants have survived them. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm just sorting a bit of space in the greenhouse, and these, believe it or not, are tumbler tomatoes. Unfortunately, I've neglected them a bit, they've gone a bit lanky. It's something I'm not really all that bothered about if I do lose it, but what's going to happen now, I'm going to try taking a few cuttings, popping them in here, and see how they go. Say if they fail, it's no big loss, but at the same time, if they do take root, I'll get them in a basket and we can get some more fruit off them. That's the first one done. And I've taken the cutting just below a leaf node, a joint, and on this occasion I've added rooting powder. Normally I don't use it. I've also heard that honey is a good rooting compound, and that's so if you dip the tip in that, that does help. And one other thing that I've done, I've actually chopped the leaves, the length of the axle down by half, because that does help prevent transpiration through the leaves. I did 6 in the end, and they don't look too bad. As I say, this is a bonus thing. If they actually take root, that'll be a plus, but if they fail, it's no sad loss. I'm going to putting these into the Vitapod with the lid on, just to keep the humidity up until they set a few roots down. As we're heading towards the end of April now, I thought it's about time we better have a look at the runner beans and French beans. As usual, my runner beans will be Benchmaster, which I've grown 5 or 6 years ago now. And I'm growing the dwarf bean again. This was Ferrari. I'm not yet sure if I'm actually going to do any French climbing beans like the Cobra or Blue Lake. I'll probably only do the actual runner beans up the sticks. So for a change, I'm going to be doing the soaking method, the pre-chitting method, and then we'll put these out into the root trainers once they've started germinating. There's the runner beans in, about 24 in total. What I will do, I'll put them with damp tissue over the top, and I think I'll pop the actual container inside of the unheated propagators while we're still getting these chilly nights. I've done the dwarf beans exactly the same way. I'm going to put these in a little quarter seed tray this time, and then I'll be able to pop the lid on before they too go into the propagator. A fellow plot holder has generously donated these pot leek seedlings. I haven't grown these for 2 to 3 years now. If you're not familiar with pot leeks, similar to the traditional one, only they don't grow as tall and they're usually thicker in the stem. What I'm going to do, I'm going to prick these out into these cell trays, and any surplus I got, I'll pass on to another gardener. I've completed 10 of the 12 beds now, and they're all ready for planting out. So I thought I'd have a look at the carrot tanks. I've just topped these up with some sieve soil. I'm going to give these now a good soaking with a fine rose on hose pipe, let the water really sink in, cover them, then hopefully next week I can start planting the carrots out. Morning folks, you joined me for an early start this morning. Bit nippy, but I'm sure it'll warm up a bit later on. We're rapidly approaching the end of April now, which is coming to my favourite time of the year, and I really like these light mornings. It gives me a chance to get out here on my own with no disturbance, just me and the birds. So the first job for today I'm going to be looking at is potting on these peppers. They're getting slightly too big now for the pots they're in, and I want to bring them up to one more pot size before eventually they go out into the wicking system, which will go in here, and that'll probably be around about 6 weeks time. So let's get cracking. But before we can do any potting at all, got to attend to our needs. And look who's arrived for his breakfast. So all of the peppers have been potted on now. I managed to get most of them into the Vitapod except for about 3. And so they'll be ticking along nicely in there for the next probably 4 to 6 weeks until I put them into the chili grow self-wicking system that I built. Now I've got the peppers all potted on. I'm going to do a few more spring onions. This is a new variety, this one is, and this one's called Guardsman. Described as a cross between the normal spring onion and the Japanese type, produces vigorous growth and the ability to overwinter. And I'm doing a few there. Not grown these at all this year, and these are my usual favourite, is White Lisbon. So I'm going to do 5 of each, and then they'll probably end up in the Vegapod. I decided in the end to do a tray each of the Guardsman and the White Lisbon spring onions. I'll be transferring these into the Allotment greenhouse because I'm struggling for space in here, and also hopefully we're not going to get any more really bad frost now. Well, we've got a break in the weather and some rare sunshine. I thought I'd sow a tank of carrots. Before I do that, like I said in the previous video, before I do every bed now, I'm going to give it a soaking with the super soil. And this is a quite fine rose. This is a Hawes number 2, if anybody knows anything about that. Okay, that's that done, and carrots of choice as usual, and my usual sweet candle. I've got my trusty grid here. I'll be popping that on. And I'll be just put a slight depression into the centre of these squares, and in there I'll be placing 3 or 4 carrot seeds as usual. Let them germinate and cut off the weakest ones, just keeping the strongest. That's the holes all carefully dibbed into place. I think there's 117 in total, 13 times 9, and now we've got the time consuming task of adding the seeds. I'm just topping the hole up with some vermiculite. You can use normal sifted soil if you want, but I find adding the vermiculite, it gives you a rough indication of where the actual carrot should come up. If you'd like to have a look how the show guys do their specimen carrots, they do it totally different to this. They'll use a big container with some sharp sand, then core a hole out, usually with a plastic drain pipe, fill that with sifted sand and plant the seeds in there, similar to the way these will grow, but they get some marvellous specimens. Plenty of other videos out on YouTube. Go and have a look how the experts do it. So with the polycarb lids in place, just about brings this one to an end. Need to fill the vermiculite jars up again. Hope you've enjoyed watching this one, because I've certainly enjoyed filming it. Next episode, I'm going to be planting out the brassicas and maybe the onions, depending on the weather, but they're desperate to go out. Looked at the weather forecast and it looks okay, so I think they'll be next on the list. Many thanks for watching. My name's Nigel Dukes, and you've been watching MuddyBootz Allotment channel. See you next time. Bye.